On June 26, 2026, the government of Burkina Faso made a historic announcement that sent shockwaves across the globe. Captain Ibrahim Traore officially severed all diplomatic ties with France and handed Paris a strict 7-day ultimatum to shut down its embassy and evacuate all diplomatic personnel. For the first time in over a century of post-colonial history, a former West African colony did not ask for permission, nor did it negotiate behind closed doors. It commanded, and a former European empire complied. How did a nation once labeled as one of the poorest on earth force one of the most powerful military powers in Europe to pack its bags in total silence? Captain Ibrahim Traore declared to the world, "Sovereignty is not given by foreign masters, it is taken by the unyielding spirit of a united people. We will no longer allow our nation to be a playground for foreign interests." These powerful words echo deeply in the hearts of our brothers and sisters across the global African diaspora. They remind us that the struggle of Burkina Faso is the struggle for the dignity and future of the entire African continent. This is not merely a routine diplomatic breakup between two nations. It is a seismic shift in global geopolitics, marking the collapse of decades of foreign domination in the Sahel. But why was Paris forced to obey this ultimatum without firing a single shot? And what comes next for the Alliance of Sahel States? Let us examine the truth behind the headlines. If your heart beats for a free and self-reliant Africa, please subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and share your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single message with deep respect for your voice. To understand why the sudden closing of the French embassy was greeted with widespread relief across the streets of Ouagadougou, one must look beyond the official diplomatic letters and examine a long history of economic dependency. For more than 6 decades following formal independence in the 1960s, an invisible structure governed relationships across Francophone West Africa. This arrangement, known informally as Francafrique, allowed former colonial powers to maintain immense political, military, and financial leverage over sovereign African nations. To grasp how this system functioned, it is essential to understand the mechanics of the monetary framework known as the CFA franc. Under agreements established during the post-colonial era, several West African nations were required to deposit a massive portion of their national foreign exchange reserves directly into the French treasury. In exchange, the currency was pegged directly to European monetary standards. While proponents argued that this arrangement guaranteed monetary stability, critical economists and regional leaders pointed out a painful reality. A sovereign nation could not independently adjust its own interest rates, expand its credit to local businesses, or freely manage its national monetary policy without approval from foreign financial institutions. This financial setup created an environment where foreign corporations enjoyed exclusive access to vital national contracts, mining concessions, and strategic infrastructure projects. Raw resources such as gold, cotton, and manganese were extracted and shipped overseas unprocessed, while local manufacturing sectors remained virtually non-existent. For decades, the true wealth generated from African soil flowed outward, leaving the host nations reliant on foreign loans and international development aid just to fund basic public services. Behind these macroeconomic arrangements lies the human reality of daily life in West Africa. Consider the story of Ousmane, a 45-year-old bronze artisan and father of 4 who lives in a humble neighborhood on the outskirts of Ouagadougou. For more than 25 years, Ousmane has woken up before dawn to melt scrap metals, shape traditional sculptures, and sell his crafts in the crowded markets of the capital. He is a man of quiet dignity who works 14 hours a day under the scorching heat to support his family and pay for his children's education. Yet, despite decades of relentless labor, Ousmane watched his purchasing power collapse year after year. When global inflation surged or local food prices spiked, his hard-earned money bought less flour, less cooking oil, and fewer medicines for his aging parents. Ousmane frequently shared his frustration with neighbors, observing that while massive trucks loaded with unrefined minerals rolled past his village toward the ports every single week, his community still lacked reliable electricity, clean running water, and paved roads. His children studied for school under the dim light of solar lanterns because the local power grid failed almost every evening. Usman often asked a fundamental question that resonated across his entire neighborhood. How could a country so rich in natural gold and valuable mineral deposits raise generation after generation of children in persistent poverty? He realized that the hardship facing his family was not caused by a lack of effort or hard work from local citizens, but rather by an economic structure designed to export wealth while importing expensive finished goods from foreign markets. This sense of structural injustice slowly built up over decades across the Sahel. Elderly citizens remembered promises of prosperity that were made during the independence era but never delivered, while young people faced high unemployment rates despite holding university degrees. Political leaders who attempted to restructure these trade relationships or challenge foreign dominance were often sidelined, replaced, or subjected to intense diplomatic and economic pressure from overseas powers. Is it fair for a nation rich in raw materials to remain financially constrained while foreign entities profit from its underground wealth? This central question fueled a growing desire for systemic change across Burkina Faso and neighboring territories. When Captain Ibrahim Traore began speaking openly about financial sovereignty, local resource processing, and genuine national self-determination, his message struck a deep chord with citizens like Usman. They did not view his policies as mere political rhetoric, but as a direct answer to decades of economic frustration and overlooked human dignity. To fully appreciate the gravity of the recent diplomatic shutdown, one must realize that this was not a sudden impulse or an uncalculated emotional reaction. What the world witnessed in mid-2026 was actually the final chapter of a carefully planned step-by-step strategy to dismantle decades of external influence. When Captain Ibrahim Traore assumed leadership in September 2022, he inherited a nation struggling with deep security challenges and foreign dependency. Rather than attempting to break every tie overnight, his administration embarked on a methodical process of reclaiming national control one sector at a time. The first crucial step took place in early 2023 when the government officially terminated long-standing military agreements with Paris. For years, foreign military bases were stationed on local soil under the premise of providing regional security and counterterrorism assistance. Yet, despite their presence, security conditions across the countryside continued to deteriorate. The government requested foreign troops to vacate their bases within 30 days. To the surprise of many international observers, the foreign military complied and withdrew their forces, marking the first major demonstration that the balance of power in West Africa was shifting. Shortly after the military withdrawal, the administration focused on political and diplomatic channels. The government requested the recall of foreign diplomatic figures and military attachés, citing concerns over unauthorized activities that compromise national security. By mid-2024, additional diplomatic personnel were declared persona non grata and given 48 hours to leave the country. At the same time, major foreign state broadcasting outlets were suspended from local airways. This decision was grounded in the understanding that national narrative sovereignty is just as important as physical border defense. When foreign media controls the flow of information, it can shape public perception, influence political outcomes, and undermine domestic morale during times of crisis. This gradual disengagement offers an important educational lesson in modern geopolitics. In international relations, national sovereignty is built on three essential pillars: military autonomy, information independence, and diplomatic equality. If a nation lacks any one of these pillars, its ability to make independent choices remains severely restricted. By systematically addressing each pillar in sequence, Burkina Faso prepared its legal and political infrastructure for the ultimate step taken in June 2026, the complete closure of the diplomatic mission in Ouagadougou. By examining this 4-year timeline, it becomes evident that every decision was calculated to minimize sudden disruptions while asserting national dignity. Foreign diplomats were not expelled in a chaotic surge, but through formal decrees and precise deadlines. When the final 7-day ultimatum was delivered in 2026, it represented the logical conclusion of a journey that began 4 years earlier. The last official thread connecting the old diplomatic framework had been severed, proving to the world that a small nation, when driven by clear purpose and popular support, can systematically reshape its destiny. When news of the expulsion reached Europe, international observers watched closely to see how Paris would respond. Rather than diplomatic negotiations or introducing new strategic countermeasures, the response appeared surprisingly uninspired. Foreign officials summoned the senior diplomatic representative from Burkina Faso and informed him that, in a spirit of reciprocity, all local diplomatic staff must leave European soil within the exact same 7-day deadline. By using the exact same playbook, timeline, and format previously dictated by Ouagadougou, foreign policymakers revealed an unexpected lack of strategic flexibility. The nation that once dictated terms across an entire continent was now mirroring the procedural steps of its former colony. Both embassies were officially shuttered, ending decades of direct institutional presence. Yet, the closing of an embassy carries implications that reach far beyond formal political channels. It directly alters the economic landscape for private enterprise. For decades, foreign businesses across Francophone West Africa operated under an invisible layer of state protection. As of recent estimates, dozens of major subsidiaries representing foreign commercial interests operated within Burkina Faso. These enterprises included mining operations, logistical networks, telecommunications providers, and financial institutions. The diplomatic apparatus, from senior ambassadors to trade attachés, functioned as a powerful advocate that secured lucrative contracts, opened regulatory doors, and shielded foreign firms from local competition. With the complete withdrawal of foreign diplomatic cover, that historic advantage evaporated almost overnight. Foreign corporate entities now find themselves operating on an equal footing with every other international competitor. Into this newly open space, alternative global partners are moving with remarkable speed. Turkish infrastructure firms, Russian resource developers, Chinese manufacturing state enterprises, and Gulf investment funds have spent years seeking expanded access to the rich mineral reserves and agricultural potential of the Sahel. Previously, these emerging powers faced structural barriers due to entrenched foreign monopolies. Now, the economic playing field in Ouagadougou has been flattened. Many members of the African diaspora watching these developments from major cities across Europe and North America view this shift as an inevitable step toward economic multipolarity. Scholars and trade analysts within diaspora communities point out that true sovereign independence cannot exist as long as one foreign nation holds a commercial monopoly over local assets. When a government opens its doors to diversified international partnerships, it creates competitive pressure that can result in fairer contract terms, higher local royalty payments, and greater technology transfer. The sudden disappearance of diplomatic favoritism does not mean Burkina Faso is closing its borders to trade. Instead, it suggests the nation is redefining the rules of engagement, ensuring that foreign businesses operate on mutual respect rather than inherited colonial privilege. Across major capital cities in Europe and North America, educated members of the African diaspora are analyzing these developments with profound interest. From university lecture halls in Paris to policy think tanks in Washington, D.C., intellectuals of African descent are recognizing a fundamental shift in how West Africa interacts with traditional global powers. For decades, many overseas scholars felt a deep sense of frustration watching their native countries remain economically dependent despite holding immense natural wealth. Today, these diaspora voices argue that the actions taken in Ouagadougou signal a broader intellectual awakening, proving that sovereignty is not merely a theoretical concept found in political textbooks, but an active practice of national self-determination. Many diaspora economists suggest that the complete severance of diplomatic relations represents an inevitable progression toward a multipolar world order. When a nation relies exclusively on a single foreign power for military protection, financial currency, and diplomatic representation, its internal decision-making remains subject to external pressures. By breaking away from this traditional framework, Burkina Faso is forcing the international community to reevaluate the terms of bilateral engagement. Overseas analysts observe that true partnership cannot be built on unilateral dependence, but must be grounded in sovereign equality, non-interference, and reciprocal respect. Furthermore, young professionals and engineers within the diaspora are beginning to discuss the possibility of returning to contribute their technical skills back home, inspired by the prospect of genuine national industrialization. This dramatic turn of events raises an urgent geopolitical question that echoes across the entire Sahel region. Will neighboring nations like Mali and Niger follow the exact same path and completely cut formal diplomatic ties with Paris? All three nations, which together form the Alliance of Sahel States, have already taken coordinated steps to expel foreign military units, terminate defense agreements, and announce their collective withdrawal from regional economic blocs like ECOWAS. Reports also indicate that these three governments have initiated joint procedures to exit international judicial frameworks, such as the International Criminal Court, viewing them as tools selectively applied against sovereign African states. When examining this synchronized pattern of policy decisions, many regional analysts speculate that it may only be a matter of time before Mali and Niger formalize a complete diplomatic break as well. If both Bamako and Niamey decide to adopt the strategy executed by Captain Ibrahim Traore, the formal diplomatic footprint of France across the Central Sahel would drop to zero. Such a scenario would mark an unprecedented complete exit of a former colonial power from a continuous geographic zone in West Africa. While some diplomatic commentators advocate for caution, pointing out that formal channels can sometimes provide useful lines of communication during the regional crises, others maintain that symbolic diplomatic presence means very little when underlying mutual trust has been completely eroded. As foreign political influence recedes across the region, a critical vacuum is created. What alternative structure will rise to take its place, and how will the leaders of the Sahel turn this newfound political independence into tangible economic progress for their citizens? The answer to these pressing questions lies within a bold strategic blueprint recently presented to the African continent. On July 6, 2026, the exact same day foreign diplomats finalized their departure, Captain Ibrahim Traore delivered a landmark address to the citizens of the Sahel from Ouagadougou. Speaking in his capacity as the current chairman of the Alliance of Sahel States Confederation, his speech marked the second anniversary of the historic treaties signed in Niamey that transformed a military pact between Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger into a unified confederation. Rather than engaging in empty victory celebrations, the address laid out a concrete strategic roadmap designed to fill the economic and political space left behind by departing foreign powers. Traore addressed his audience with remarkable clarity, acknowledging that the Confederation marks this milestone against an economic and media war of unprecedented scale. He observed that foreign isolation campaigns, financial sanctions, and coordinated media pressure were intentionally designed to disrupt regional integration and dismantle the collective spirit of the Sahel. However, he noted that the people of the region chose unity over division, solidarity over isolation, and self-reliance over economic dependence. Looking back at the first 2 years of the alliance, he highlighted significant practical achievements, including the operational deployment of a joint anti-terror force, the circulation of a common confederation passport, and a unified withdrawal from regional economic blocs that no longer served national interests. At the heart of his address was the unveiling of 7 core strategic priorities that define the roadmap for the Confederation. These priorities encompass collective self-defense, deep economic integration, rapid industrialization, energy and food sovereignty, the local transformation of natural resources, the free movement of people and goods, and the pooling of scientific and industrial capacity across all three nations. Among these strategic objectives, the call for local resource transformation stands out as the fundamental engine of future economic independence. For more than a century, the underground wealth of the Central Sahel moved in a single direction, extracted in its raw form and shipped overseas. Unrefined gold from Mali and Burkina Faso, alongside raw uranium from Niger, fueled foreign industries and powered international energy grids, while surrounding local communities remained without reliable electricity or basic infrastructure. The newly articulated blueprint aims to systematically dismantle this colonial economic framework. By establishing domestic refineries, industrial processing facilities, and local manufacturing hubs, the Confederation seeks to ensure that the mineral wealth beneath African soil directly benefits local workers, creates domestic employment for the youth, and funds regional development. Furthermore, the address clarified that the Alliance of Sahel States is not designed to antagonize external nations or isolate itself from the global community. The Confederation continues to maintain open diplomatic dialogue with regional neighbors and international partners, provided those relationships are established on non-negotiable principles of mutual respect, sovereign equality, and non-interference. By establishing a unified economic and security zone across Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, the leaders of the Sahel are laying the groundwork for a self-sustaining future where African nations determine their own destiny on their own terms. While the severance of foreign ties marks a major geopolitical milestone, regional leaders and international observers understand that political independence is merely the starting line rather than the ultimate destination. The road ahead for Burkina Faso and the Alliance of Sahel States is paved with formidable asymmetric challenges that will test the resilience of their institutions. The region continues to wage a demanding campaign against irregular armed groups that threaten rural communities and regional infrastructure. At the same time, the government must navigate potential economic isolation, credit restrictions, and media campaigns designed to weaken public confidence. As history demonstrates, dismantling old external structures is difficult, but building a self-sustaining, prosperous nation from their ashes requires unprecedented discipline and long-term dedication. The ultimate measure of success will not be found in diplomatic declarations or public speeches, but in whether this new direction can bring safety to village streets, economic stability to local families, and a brighter future for the next generation. For citizens like Ousmane, the bronze artisan in Ouagadougou, and millions of hardworking individuals across the continent, the true victory lies in converting newfound national sovereignty into affordable food, reliable energy, and dignity for every household. The path toward complete self-reliance is rarely smooth, yet the spirit that fuels this movement carries the collective weight of history, guided by the enduring memory of past generations who dreamt of a truly liberated Africa. As we witness this historic transformation unfolding across West Africa, we are reminded that the quest for human dignity and national self-determination transcends borders. The story of Burkina Faso belongs to a broader global narrative of courage, where ordinary people dare to reclaim control over their land, their resources, and their ultimate destiny. May the souls of the ancestors who sacrificed for freedom watch over this land, and may the light of truth continue to illuminate the path toward a new era of genuine independence. What are your thoughts on this historic turning point in the Sahel? Do you believe the Alliance of Sahel States can overcome these immense security and economic pressures to build a self-reliant future? Please share your reflections, prayers, and insights in the comments section below. I deeply value every perspective shared by our global community, and I make it a priority to read your messages with profound respect. Thank you for standing with us as we follow the path of truth and sovereignty across the African continent. May wisdom, peace, and strength remain with you and your loved ones wherever you are in the world today.